Hey guys, this is Brianna. Today is day 103 of the challenge. When I first started with this challenge, I knew that one of the things that I wanted to improve on was my communication and speaking skills. So, about a year ago, I heard of something called Toastmasters. Or actually, I don't even think it was a year ago. That was actually earlier this year. I learned about Toastmasters from my engineer from my radio show. He ended up mentioning it to me, and yeah, I thought it was a year ago. Anyway, so he ended up talking about Toastmasters being a place where you can increase your communication skills and things like that. So I knew it was something that I wanted to look into, but I hadn't done it yet. So I ended up making that decision today to go out and look into it to see more information about it. So I looked up Toastmasters and I realized it was this whole organization and that there was multiple clubs within Riverside, the Riverside area, which is where I live. So I decided to just look, I think there was like 4 or 5 clubs in Riverside. And so I took a look through the first one and I saw that there was a meeting today. So I was like, okay, well, there's a meeting today. I decided to go ahead and rearrange my schedule so I can attend that meeting because I feel like it's something really important that I need to do. And going to that meeting, I thought was actually quite interesting. It was very different. So first and foremost, everybody has a role in the meeting, and I thought it was interesting because basically you're given a theme for the meeting, and the theme was fossils. Now, off the top of my head, I'm like, fossils? I don't know anything about fossils. So, of course, I'm learning to understand how everything works. And then there's someone who's in charge. I mean, there's always someone that's in charge of something. So one guy, he was in charge of giving people questions to ask, and they had to answer it with relation to what the topic was. So he ends up asking a question, and then people kind of go up there and address that question, even if they know nothing about it. And so I ended up asking that question. Well, I don't know anything about fossils, so what do I say if I don't know anything about that specific topic? They said, just make it up. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. So eventually the guy asked, hey, are you open to getting asked a question? I was like, sure, why not? And so he asked me a question, and I was like, okay, well, I know nothing about fossils. And I was completely honest with him. I told him I know nothing about fossils, but so I'm pretty sure this is going to be a train wreck, but I'll give it a shot. And the reason why I went on ahead and did it was just because number one, it definitely made me uncomfortable. I knew nothing about the topic, but I knew more than anything is that it was going to be a challenge. And it definitely was that. And I feel like it was a total train wreck, but I don't care. It was a fun little experience. But the cool thing that I liked about it is that there was people who had to give speeches. There was people who had to evaluate, and the people who were evaluating, they were very detailed in how they did their evaluations. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, they're catching on little things that maybe I wouldn't normally notice, but they're picking up on it. And the cool thing with that club too, at first I thought it was kind of a bad thing because they were all much older than me. And I thought that was going to be a little bit of a concern, but the wisdom that comes with it, I think, is really beneficial. So I don't know. There is some conflicting scheduling with the times, because they meet every Wednesday at 6:15, and that's exactly at the same time as I have my real estate club meetings. And so I kind of don't want to. I don't know. I got to figure that out and see if there's a way to make it work. But yeah, so I'm gonna take a look at a couple other clubs as well. I want to check out all the clubs and see which one has the best fit. But I will say I did like having that first introduction with them, because I definitely feel like I can learn a lot, and they could definitely help me with my speaking skills. Even though they claim, I feel like sometimes people are a little bit more generous when they first know you. They claim that I have a decent speaking skills, which I have been told that before. I really don't agree, but obviously I have a lot to learn, and especially because I'm gonna be doing these conferences So I definitely can use some speaking skills and learn a heck of a lot how to basically keep people engaged. And I really do feel confident. So with this Toastmasters thing. So I don't know. I'm sure I'm going to find a home with one of these clubs soon. I guess over the next week, maybe, depending on when all the club meetings are. But yeah, anyway, guys, I kind of talked a lot about this subject, a lot longer than I anticipated. But anyway, this is my journey to business and entrepreneurship. I will see you guys tomorrow.